screens very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello and welcome to a very special catch-up edition of This Is Ibrox. We have been lucky enough to be joined with our good friends at KickOff.com. Lawrence Kohler joins us tonight, and it's myself, Scott Patterson, on quite a special day for Rangers today. We speak about them signing the fourth South African to come and play in their history. We're joined by, the fifth South African to play in their history. We're joined by Dean Furman as well. Guys, hello, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. We're going to speak about the signing of Bongani Zungu a little bit later. Firstly, I just want to lead with how you guys are dealing with the current COVID restrictions, where I'm contacting you from in central Scotland just now. Things are a little bit all over the shop. Lawrence, how is it where you are?
Look, in South Africa at this moment, it's a bit up and down. We were heading to level 1, and people obviously thought it was all over. So like it's happening in Europe, where there's a bit of a worry that it might go back into full-blown lockdown again.
Yeah.
So it's tough for us, just being homebound all the time, especially going into summer. Traditionally during this period in South Africa, Dean will know it's crazy. People, going into December, it's a lifestyle for South Africans. We love being outside on the beaches and things like that. Maybe not where he was in Pretoria, but where I am in Cape Town. So it's difficult to handle, but we're all doing as best as we can.
Indeed. I won't need to speak to Dean about the Scottish summers because you'll know them very well, or remember them well, I'm sure. Dean, we appreciate you're now back in Britain, plying your trade down south. Let us know how you are and where you are indeed just now.
Yeah, all well, thankfully. I did spend the first part of the pandemic in South Africa, so and we were in a serious lockdown. You weren't allowed to go for a walk on the streets or walk your dog if you had a dog. You could go to the shops to buy groceries and go to the pharmacy. That was it. There were no takeaways. Nothing was open. It was purely groceries and a pharmacy. That was it. So that was pretty extreme, and the good news is, as Lorenz says, it seems to be under control there at the moment. And yeah, I really hope they don't get a second spike as we're experiencing over here. I'm down in Manchester. We've just gone into the highest alert. That's the high risk, basically level 3. No mixing of households, no socializing. It's pretty extreme here at the moment. So yeah, not fun. But hopefully this is the way forward to slow the spread and to get things back under control. Then let's hope it's the best way to find some sort of normality again.
Indeed. And Dean, from a footballing perspective, where are you just now?
I'm up at Carlisle, so not too far from the border.
Indeed.
I came back from South Africa. I've just had a little girl. We decided that instead of signing a new contract at SuperSport, which was my club in South Africa, where we were relatively successful. I was the captain there, loving life in South Africa. We just decided, with the little one coming along, we wanted to be closer to my wife and my parents who are over in the UK. So we made the decision to return. And coming back was difficult, looking for a club. A number of factors. The pandemic has really hit football over here. So clubs are tightening their purse strings, and it was difficult. But I'm very happy to be at Carlisle, and we've had a solid start to the season.
Good. Congratulations to you, of course, in the first instance. Well done. So today, Rangers have paraded the South African Bongani Zungu. I think it's safe to say it was a transfer that kind of went for the duration of the summer. Everyone thought they were after him, then they weren't, then they were again, then there was murmurs of failed medicals and things just not going according to plan. Eventually got him over the line. I think he was the primary target over the summer, if we're being brutally honest. Dean, I think from a supporter's perspective, i.e. myself, probably don't know a lot about him. We've read bits and pieces. We know he's played for the last couple of years in European football in Portugal and France. What can Rangers fans expect from Bongani Zungu?
Yes, I was, as soon as I saw the interest in Bongs and Rangers, I was very excited. So I've been following it the whole summer as well. And I'm so delighted that it got over the line, because it went quiet for quite a while, and I thought it was dead in the water. And then just as the transfer window was closing, I saw that the interest was still there, and they were hoping to get it over the line. So I'm absolutely delighted for him. I think you will have seen that the interest from South Africa is incredible, as generally happens when one of their stars signs for a big club in Europe. The interest is just massive. So there will be a big Rangers following. If there wasn't already, I'm sure there was already, but it would have grown by the hundreds of thousands. So very excited for Bongs. I've been waiting for the picture that Rangers put up today of him with his Rangers shirt. It seems like it was never going to come, but now he's out of isolation and back and starting training. Bongs for me, so I first saw him, I was playing over here, but going out and representing the national team. So I didn't know him necessarily from club football, but Bongs came into the national team kind of on the first day of training. I was immediately kind of taken aback by, one, his confidence, and two, his ability. I always remember we were training at Mozambique Stadium in Durban. He got the ball and put it in the top corner. And the thing I always look at in young players coming through, so he was a young lad coming into the national team. I think it was his first camp. There's some guys that go into their shell and just play it simple, or give it to like the more experienced guys and just kind of try not to make a mistake. Whereas what I like to look for in a young guy is the guy who says, give me the ball, I'll show you what I can do. And straight away, Bongs struck me as that. It was like, I remember saying to another Bongani, who was the captain at the time, Bongani Kumala, I said, wow, who's this guy? That was the first thing I was alerted to his talent. And since then, I've really enjoyed watching him progress. So Bongs, I then moved out to play for SuperSport. Bongs was then playing for Mamelodi Sundowns, who are a massive club in South Africa, which really bodes well for him going to Rangers, because the expectations of being a Sundowns player will be similar to the expectations of being a Rangers player. They're expected to win, they're expected to perform, they're expected to dominate, and they're under intense media pressure. Every move on and off the pitch is scrutinised. Every game is in the public eye. So Bongs will have grown accustomed to that. And what's playing against him, tough. He's a good size, a big boy. He's strong. He can be physical. He's got very good feet. On playing against him, and certainly playing for the national team together, I've generally played the more defensive role, and he's then been allowed to flourish and go forward. I believe Lorenz will know more than me. I believe over the years he's maybe become a bit more defensive, but the good thing is I imagine he can do either. Do recall him scoring a particularly good goal against my team as a Sundowns player.
You never forget those ones, do you?
Never forget, yeah, because it was me trying to track him all the way back, and he scored a good goal. And then if you look at our most recent AFCON, Bongs scored. He scored in the quarterfinals against Nigeria from a free kick. He scored in the group stages, a header. So he's good in the air. He can come up with goals. He's got a good range of passing ability. But the one thing that's really impressed me about Bongs is that his attitude, and I think attitude is everything to be a Rangers player. Yeah. He's at a club, Mamelodi Sundowns, who in South Africa are a club that, as I said, they've just done the treble. They're a big club. They're very successful. They're successful in the country. They're successful in the continent, and there's a bit of money to be made in the PSL in South Africa. And Bongs could have very easily stayed at Sundowns and had a very nice career and made a lot of money. But he took it upon himself to say, no, my dream is to play in Europe. I want to go and test myself. I want to push myself. And he's gone step by step, and he's went to Portugal and he succeeded in Portugal. He got his nice move to France. He went to France. He's obviously done very well there, because it seems like every transfer window, there's, I think last transfer window, he nearly went to La Liga, and there's always interest in him, and now he gets his move to Rangers. So it's that kind of attitude to keep on progressing, to keep on kind of stepping up the ladder, so to speak. That's really impressed me by him, and it's that kind of attitude that for me will hopefully make him a success at Rangers.
So, Lawrence, Dean has kind of alluded to the fact that this will be big news in South Africa with Bongani coming to play his football for the world's most successful club. What can maybe Rangers expect as far as coverage in South Africa is concerned now that Zungu is now plying his trade in Glasgow?
You could expect the Rangers to become a South African club. That's all I'm saying. It's basically going to be covered as if it was Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs, or Pirates, which is the three biggest teams. Zungu is a superstar in South Africa, and every move will be followed. You can get people on the Rangers page saying that he should be made captain. It's intense. The fanaticism of the fans are very intense. But just to touch on that, it can get a bit too much. You know what I mean? They'll always ask, why is he not in the lineup? Things like that. So the expectation is definitely high because they know what Bongs has in his locker. And just to touch on going away from the fans thing, but just touch on what Dean was saying about the expectation of Sundowns. They expected to win everything. And what impressed all of us is that, like he said, he was a superstar in South Africa, you know, big fish in a small pond type of thing. But he took it upon himself because his dream was always to play in the Premier League and La Liga and the top leagues and top teams. He took it upon himself to say, okay, I'm going to go to Portugal, where he probably earned the same or even less. And that was his gateway to Europe. And his next step to France was also impressive because it's like, this is not a big club, but he realized this is the next step from Portugal to Lyon to get where he wants to be. And I just feel like over the past, since he's left South Africa, we still haven't seen the best of him. You know what I mean? I still feel that there's many gears and levels to Bongani that we haven't seen yet. Like Dean said, he's got incredible ability. When he came out first in South Africa, before even Sundowns, he was actually a striker. So he has so many things to him where he can score goals. He played on the wing, he played as a 10, he played as a 8, he played as a 6. He can play everywhere. And I think what's very exciting about the move to Rangers is that Gerrard was a world-class midfielder. So you'll be able to look at him and assess him and say, this is the qualities that this player has, and I will know how to utilize it. Because one of the most frustrating things for us as South Africans and us in the media is knowing that Bongani is a proper box-to-box midfielder. He has it all. He can shoot, he can tackle, he's got a good engine. And we've been seeing him over the past few years playing as a deep-lying playmaker and a defensive midfielder, which was very strange to us. So I think that obviously Gerrard is the perfect person to work with him because he will identify what his key strengths are. And I think that's the role that he can thrive in as a box-to-box midfielder. And like I said, like I interviewed him after the AFCON, where he was playing there with Dean in front of crowds, like in the Cairo International Stadium of 60, almost 70,000 people. He was never overawed by the occasion. He will be able to handle the hostile atmospheres and things like that. And also he's played at, you know, high-profile games. And I interviewed him at AFCON and after AFCON, and he always said the same thing. He brings leadership, one, and two, he's looking for that next challenge. And Rangers is that next challenge. You know what I'm saying? He wants to go there and he wants to cement a legendary status, like, you know, helping them win the league, win trophies, things like that. You know what I mean? And nothing against Rangers, but ideally, I think in his mind, what he wants to do is make a name for himself and get a move to the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that was his ultimate dream of playing in the English Premier League. But obviously, you know, a couple of months in Glasgow, we can realize that, you know, this is actually a club where I can see myself for in the long term, because, you know, it's a massive club.
I'm glad you mentioned, Lawrence, about the almost being able to play anywhere in that sort of midfield role. I think when he was originally linked with Rangers, there was a discussion when he was playing with Amiens in France. There was a suggestion he was kind of more box to box, but when he was playing for the international club, for the international games. He was more used as a sort of deep lying sort of midfielder, just sitting in front of a back four, almost.
Look, I wouldn't say in front of the back four because Dean was actually playing in that role, but it's different tactical systems to suit different games, if you know what I'm saying. Especially at AFCON where we played, South Africa played bigger sides. The expectation was sometimes, to counter attack. And going into Rangers where most of the time you'd be expected to be on the front foot, it would be a different situation. So I think from my understanding is that the Ross Jack plays in the box-to-box midfield role, or does he play the 6?
Right, Ryan Jack. He kind of plays just ahead of the sort of back four, and gives the other two guys license to roam a little,
I think that was from my understanding that would have been the ideal partnership, and with the Joe Aribo, and I know plays for Nigeria as well. So I think that gives Steven Gerrard plenty of options. But I think honestly, from my opinion, his best role is box-to-box midfielder, because he's in all action play. He just wants to be involved, and he likes to take the game by the scruff of its neck. And one thing, obviously, it's going to sound ludicrous to many people that's listening to us. It's like when Yaya Toure left Barcelona, he was playing as a centre back. He came to the Premier League, and the manager saw that this guy's not a centre back. And I think the same can be said to Gerrard. He'll take one look and this guy's not a defensive midfielder. Unleash him, what I mean? Let him be free. Let him go forward. And I'm assuming that will happen because he simply has too much in his locker to restrict him from just playing the odd champagne pass from his own half.
Absolutely.
He has everything in his locker. Like you said, Dean also said he's got a bit of height to him. He can score from headers. He can find the top corner. He can do everything. So I honestly don't think he'll be restricted in that way by Gerrard.
So Dean, I'm going to come to you next. We're saying a lot of positive things about this guy. Who's he like? So when players kind of come up here, you often he's like this guy or he's like that guy. If there's someone that you could bracket Zungu as, who can the Rangers fans expect to see this guy as almost? I know it's a difficult one, but why not?
It is a difficult one. And Lorenz is just, the headline's going to say, Rangers sign the next Yaya Toure. But I get what Lorenz is saying. I do, because he's physically he's similar, and then when you get a big guy, which Bongs is, which Yaya Toure was, you almost don't expect them to be as good with their feet. And the one thing about South African footballers, typically, I'll exclude myself from that because I just run around. Is actually Bongs isn't your typical South African footballer, because I find generally we're actually quite small as a football nation physically, and when we're coming up against West Africans or the Northern Africans who are generally bigger, physically we that seems to be where we struggle. But where we are successful against them is our combination play, our quick feet, our quick interchange of passing, our skills on the ball. So the great thing that Bongs has got, and why he has gone on from Portugal to France and now to Rangers, is that he's got that South African style where he's got great feet and he's got the quick combination play and he moves well, and he's a 6'2", 6'3". So he is a rare South African footballer who has got the perfect kind of combination. So when you can liken him to Yaya Toure, he's of course, I'm sure that's a huge compliment for Bongs, and he's got a long way to catch up to Yaya Toure. But in terms of style, I can definitely see why there's a certain kind of likeness to Yaya Toure and how he played his game.
So I've looked at a couple of bits of footage of him today, and I'm going to suggest a name to you because instantly when I saw him, I thought he reminds me of that guy. As soon as I saw him, the way he moved around the pitch, I thought he looked a bit like, in the way he played, Patrick Vieira. And I know it's a huge. You don't want to put too much pressure on the guy. Vieira was a real player, let's be honest, everyone knows that. But I just felt the way he glided around the pitch, the way he held his own on the pitch, his stature, he looks like a real athlete. He reminded me of Vieira in many respects. I don't know if you think that's fair or not. You've actually played in the same team as him, Dean. You'd have a better idea than me.
Yeah, I think in the way he, I mean, it's the long legs. It's the way he moves. Absolutely, I get that. He's tall. He's physical. He moves well, which is key, because often someone of Bong's size, they don't in the middle. They don't always move that well. But Bongs can move. He can shift. Yeah. And that's why I can see that. I can see the Yaya Toure. I can see the Patrick Vieira. And I'm guessing that's what Steven Gerrard saw in him, because that in itself is a huge compliment. If Steven Gerrard is reaching out to go and get you, that's a huge compliment in itself. So he's obviously seen some aspects of that. And Bongs will continue to work on his game, and I think playing alongside the calibre of player that Rangers have at the moment, it's only going to make him better. The challenge for him is to really, how much does he step up and dominate? That's the challenge, which knowing him, I know that he's more than up to.
I think he's also, sorry, Alonso, you go.
I think, just to interject there, Bongs will be the first person to admit this, that he hasn't done what's been expected of him over the past few seasons in terms of goal scoring. Okay. I know many Rangers fans, soon as they heard who's Bongani Zungu, they'll go to Wikipedia and Transfer Market. They'll see, hey, this guy scored 2 goals in 3 seasons. What's going on here? You know what I mean? And he'll be the first to admit that he hasn't scored enough goals because he's been playing in such a deep position. And when I asked him about this, he said, I can only do what the coach asks of me. I can only, keep the game ticking if he asks me to keep the game ticking. I know when he joined Amiens, it was an ambitious project, and they were looking to, get European places, and things just didn't work out in that way. And he was how can I say, was punished in some way because of the interest in him. After his first season, Espanyol came after him. After his second season, Mallorca came from him. And I know particularly after that, the second time we tried to leave, the move actually fell through while he was sitting in Mallorca. And obviously that definitely affected his standing in the team, where a coach looks like, okay, this guy was on his way out. How can we rely on him? How can we play him? And that, added with injuries, never allowed him to have a regular run in the team where you're fully confident, you're fully on form, where you're just on the top of your game. But credit to him, even through all this injuries and through all this uncertainty around his future, he always managed to get his way back into the team, because he's not the type of guy to sulk. If he gets dropped or whatever, he keeps working. He has incredible mentality, and I think he'll bring a lot of leadership into the team if obviously that's needed, because it's just the way he thinks. He believes. I know Dean can attest to this. He believes he's the best. You know what I mean? He has that mentality of, I'm the best person on the pitch, and that creates success everywhere you go.
One thing, Lawrence, I think that's been levelled against Steven Gerrard's Rangers over the last couple of years is that there almost hasn't been someone in the middle of the park who has a bit of a nasty streak. Someone who is unafraid to sort of pull their sleeves up and do maybe the really dirty side of the game, just to, do you know what I mean, pull everyone through the game type thing, Do you see Zungu being able to sort of fill that? I mean, he strikes me being someone who can, as I say, do a little bit of everything in the midfield. If things were to get a bit nasty in there, Dean will know, playing up here, they don't really treat the most graceful of footballers with kid gloves. He may need to sort of pull his socks up and really get involved up here.
Yeah, I think, like I said, he can score the rocket from 25, 30 yards out. He can do everything, and I think he's just yearning for success. He's yearning for trophies, and that's going to bring the best out of him. Because when he was playing at Amiens, they were first season mid-table, second season fighting relegation. That's a completely different proposition to fighting for trophies now, and I do think he can bring that. obviously Gerrard has been looking for Gerrard in his midfield. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
if he sees somebody with the qualities, like Dean said, South African players are incredibly technically gifted. And the first thing I told him on WhatsApp was like, are you gonna show a couple of Scottish guys how good you can nutmeg them? So he said, no, that's not right. They don't want that from me. They
You'll
want
only
me
get
to
away with
keep
that once.
Yeah, he said they don't want that from me. They want me to keep it simple. So I was like, no, I was obviously just joking. But like, he's incredibly skillful, and he can take a game by the scruff of his neck. He's now, I think he's 28 years old now.
Yeah.
He's very experienced. He knows how to slow the game down. He knows how to increase the tempo, and obviously playing with players of a high quality that is playing to win a league. That brings more qualities out of him, rather than you're playing to the lines and wasting time here and there. It's a high tempo. And yeah, when he played for Sundowns, he was surrounded by quality. They told him when that was career suicide when he joined the club, because he was a youngster. And like Dean said, if you have to compare Sundowns to a European club, they would be like the PSG. They can buy anybody here.
Yeah.
And they were packed with international players from all over the continent. And he just came in. He was about 20, 21, and he made the central midfield position his own. So he's not the type of player to shy away from, taking responsibility and being that go-to guy who's the first name on the team sheet.
Dean, Lawrence mentions quality there. I don't need to tell you about the quality at Ibrox when you were there and in the position you played. We're now very fortunate this year in that we do have great quality across the three positions that Steven Gerrard likes to play in midfield. Zungu, I think, will be used in a rotation similar to a lot of the other guys. I get the impression maybe previously he has been almost the top pick, maybe top of the pile in teams that he's been at previously. He may have to sort of just sit tight until he beds himself in and can consider himself a regular in Glasgow.
Yes, it's going to take some time to adapt. I know going up there myself, and this wasn't even at necessarily a first team level, this was at a reserve and youth team level. I very quickly realised what it was all about up there. The sad thing is that there's no fans at the moment to really show you what it's all about, but you have to adapt to the league very, very quickly, because it is a tough league, and whilst Rangers are dominant and Celtic are dominant, there's no easy games. There's the games you have to earn the right to win, and the tempo of the games and the almost, not the lack of respect, but the way that every team playing Rangers and Celtic is going to raise their game, because it's their opportunity to maybe nick a move or create a name for themselves. So Bongs is going to have to adapt himself to the level of expectation and the tempo and the way the league is played, because it will be different to what it was like in France, certainly different to what it was like in South Africa. And it's going to take him, I imagine, a little bit of time to adjust, but hopefully he beds in well. But when you go to a quality team, there are quality players. So it's not like he's going to, I only hope he does, but I imagine there's plenty of depth and quality in that midfield. And when Bongs gets his opportunity, he's really going to have to take it. But I imagine, like most top clubs, there's more than one or two players going for that shirt. So yeah, certainly competition will hopefully bring the best out of him.
So before I let you guys go for now, Dean, one last thing. When you were up at Ibrox, I just want to bring up Stephen Davis with you. We're immensely proud of everything he's done so far this season, and it's incredible to think that when you were at Ibrox, Davo was still there as well, really coming across as a wonderful footballer, looks after himself, just the consummate professional, isn't he?
What a player. From day one when he came through the door, it was like, wow, just his touches. Everything was just so clean. Everything was so perfect almost. Never like a scruffy pass or a never shanked a shot. It was just, everything was clean. He was just almost the most technically gifted footballer. And he just exudes class. He's just a classy person and a classy player. And I watched a lot of the tributes to him recently for his... I think he got 100 caps.
Yeah, 121, I think it was.
Right,
maybe he confirmed that, but I think 121. Yeah, remarkable, isn't it?
It's no surprise to see some of the to see some of the messages of congratulations that he got. He's just absolutely outstanding footballer, and someone that you pay to go and watch. You want to go watch Davo play, and it's no surprise he's had the most incredible career, and that he's still going.
And I assume you're still looking out for Rangers scores every other week, Dean, yeah?
Absolutely. Well, even more reason to now. I was only hoping that Bongs' isolation was done and that he might get 5 or 10 minutes in the derby last week, but unfortunately not to be. But fantastic result, and long may it continue. I just want to see Rangers lifting that SPL once again.
Indeed. Lawrence, when the supporters are eventually allowed back into Ibrox, I assume you'll be trying to go over for a game?
100%. There's a couple of guys there in Europe that we're dying to come see out there. But from my understanding, I think his full debut might come against Benfica in the Europa League.
Okay.
So the next few weeks, he'll probably just bide his time, a couple of 5 minutes, which will be good for him. Like as Dean said, with the acclimatization, getting back to fitness, and just getting used to the style of play. So once things are back to normal, we'll look to come over and support and cover at Ibrox.
And before, as I say, I'll let you guys disappear off for now. Lawrence, let us know a little bit about KickOff.com.
Yeah, KickOff.com. Basically, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's KickOff Magazine. And basically, we're one of the biggest sport websites in Southern Africa. We mostly cover our local PSL football, but obviously with players like, Bongs moving to Rangers and Percy Tau at Anderlecht and stuff, we cover these guys extensively as well. And on the continent now, I think Dean mentioned Sundowns, one of Zungu's former coaches, Pizza Musimane, who actually was the one who converted him from a 10 to a 6 and an 8. Went to one of the biggest clubs in the world and in Africa, Al Ahly. So we cover them extensively as well. So there'll be a lot of Rangers content for the foreseeable future on kickoff.com, you can assure.
Indeed, excellent. Dean, listen, thanks for joining us to speak about Zungu. Really appreciate your time. Good luck for the season at Carlisle, and again from everyone at This Is Ibrox, congratulations on your new edition.
Thank you very much.
And Lawrence, thanks for joining us as well. I'm sure we will be back in touch as the season goes on. We obviously have a weekly podcast. I'd be delighted to have you onto that, particularly as Zungu breaks into his stride, and we can certainly reconvene and develop a bit of a relationship there. That'd be good.
100%. It was a pleasure speaking to both of you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Take care.